The swing is a very complex movement with a lot of moving parts. So I want to give you the 3 biggest swing flaws that I see with a lot of beginners, and I'm going to give you my favorite drills to fix each flaw. Now, the first flaw that I see with a lot of beginners is lunging. So what that means is they stride forward, and as they go forward, they continue to lunge, leaning over top of the ball like they're going to get it. Now, what we want to see is when they load and they get their foot down, as they turn for their swing, we want their weight back and their head above their back knee, not out front in front of their front knee. So a few things that we look for as we go through the turn, like I said, we want our head above our back knee, we want our shoelaces and our hips facing the pitcher, and this front leg straight. So my favorite drill for beginners to fix this issue is the PVC drill, but we're just gonna use our bat. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get them to get into our batting stance, toes facing straight forward, we're gonna load, and then we're gonna stride. We wanna make sure that our stride is about the size of our bat or the size of our inseam. And what we're gonna do first is we're gonna get them to load, stride, and then pause. So they're gonna load, stride, and pause. And we wanna make sure that when they pause, they're equally balanced and centered. We don't want them to continue going forward. Once that front foot hits the ground, they're no longer going forward. So we're gonna get them to keep doing that drill over and over. They're gonna load, stride, and pause. Their upper half doesn't move, and they're equally centered. Then they're gonna reset, load, pause. If you see them lunging forward, just get them to put their weight back in the middle of their body. So the next progression is we're gonna get them to swing. So they're gonna do what we just did. They're gonna load, stride, and pause. Then after we give them a quick pause, we're gonna get them to swing. So they're just gonna turn, and as they turn, we're gonna look for those 3 things that we talked about. Head above the back knee, shoelaces and hips facing the pitcher, front leg straight. If we find that they're here and they start to get way out front like this, we're gonna look for those 3 things. If we don't see them, we're just gonna get them to correct it in that moment. So they're gonna stop right here. You're gonna get them to look down. They're gonna straighten this back leg, turn that back foot, get their head and their chest over their back leg. Now, the next biggest swing flaw that I see with a lot of beginners is dropping their hands. So when they start, we want to make sure their hands are just in front of their shoulder. Their hands, their elbow and shoulder are all at shoulder height with the knob of the bat facing the catcher. So as they go through their load and their stride, once their foot hits the ground, we still want their hands up in this area. Okay, and then from there, they're going to go straight towards the ball as you go through the turn. You're going to see with a lot of kids, they're going to start wherever they start, but as they load, their hands like to come down here and they're coming up like that. We want to make sure that our hands are up at shoulder height until our foot hits the ground, and then we can go straight to the ball and rotate. So my favorite drill to get kids to not drop their hands is the high tee. So what we're going to do, we're going to set up the tee just a little bit below their chest, and we're going to get them to get in their batting stance, keeping their hands up at shoulder height, and we're going to get them to hit a low line drive or even hit the ball on the ground. That's going to force them to keep their hands above the ball, because we always want to make sure, no matter where the pitch location is, we always want to make sure our hands are always above the ball. So if kids like to drop their hands down here, there's no way they're going to be able to hit that ball on the ground. Okay, so the goal for this drill is to hit a hard line drive or a ball on the ground. So the next biggest swing flaw that I see with a lot of beginners is casting. So what that looks like is as they go for their swing, their hands go out and they kind of cast the bat almost like they're casting a fishing rod. Now what we want to see is as they go through their turn, their elbow stays tight to their body and the barrel stays tight to their shoulder until they get to here, and then they release it and then they swing. We don't want them to get out here and get really long and loopy with it. So one of my favorite drills to get kids to stop casting is using a connection ball. Now, if you don't have a connection ball, you can use a deflated volleyball or soccer ball, or even just a squishy ball or a tennis ball. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the connection ball right on our shoulder like that. We're gonna put a little bit of pressure on it with our bat. And then we're just gonna go through our turn and swing. Now, if they cast or get disconnected, that ball is gonna fall out back here. But if we do it correctly, we're gonna keep it nice and tight till our turn, and then it's gonna fall forward.